Johnny Hughes. Where are you? Young executive, CEO of his firm, Design Zillas. I just loves the name, you know. But I first met him through Steve Quello. He's addressed a number of groups like this. Very engaging. And just one thing you will know, that you're not going to be sitting back in those chairs watching. We're going to be engaging you as time goes on. So he's been in this business now, what, 12 years now? 12, 13, okay? And he is a second stage company just like you, but he's going to bring technology in the area of LinkedIn and all those things that you want to be aware of with regards to recruiting and hiring. And I think you're going to enjoy what he has to say. Meet Johnny Hughes.
Good morning. This is on, right? Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Johnny Hughes. I'm the CEO and founder of Design Zillas. Design Zillas is a digital growth agency. We help leading brands grow and scale their business to the next level online in today's digital age, using integrated digital marketing, website design, and advertising. Today, I get the privilege to talk to you guys about LinkedIn, specifically B2B LinkedIn marketing, and how you can leverage LinkedIn to recruit talent and drive business in 2019. So before we begin, I do have to ask this group one question, and it's a pretty simple one. Are you ready to compete? The truth is, most businesses don't know how to effectively engage with customers online. And that's a fact. I work with business owners every day, and this gap is real. You see, we live in an exciting time, but this time is evolving and constantly changing. And it requires you to evolve as well. And as Babe Ruth once said, yesterday's home runs won't win today's games. So it's imperative that you all are able to take a new perspective on how you've been positioning your business online and embracing the digital frontier, especially as we start embracing this new decade in 2020. And I can tell you now that if you do not embrace this change, you will be left behind. And I don't believe that anyone in this room is the type of leader that would allow that to happen to your business. And it's up to you to really take a step forward and embrace the cultural mindset that digital brings to your business and lead. Lead your organization. Take a step forward. Surpass your competition. Demonstrate to your company and to your organization that you're willing to change and to embrace this new era. But it's up to you to actually lead and to compete. Because there's nothing more ferocious, more fierce, more competitive than a CEO that's willing to fight for their business who's trying to grow. My challenge to you all is that you're here today specifically because you want to compete. And you want the knowledge and the intel needed to help you get there. So I need your help. If that's you today, if you're looking to take that step forward and help lead this charge for your organization, we're going to do something. We're going to do something together. Okay? So, on the count of 3, I'm not going to ask you to get out of your seats, but I am going to ask you to move your feet. We're essentially going to be making a collective stomp. We're going to stomp together to really show the world that we're here, and that we're here to roar, we're here to compete, and we're going to do it together. Y'all ready? So on the count of 3, we're going to stomp our feet. 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah. Come on, keep going, keep going. That's right. Let's get the energy up. Okay. Nice. Thank you. Everybody feel good? You're part of the stampede? Awesome. All right, let's dive in. Let's talk about your brand. Your brand. So what I want everybody to do right now is think about your business. And nothing but your business for the next 5 seconds. Now, who's willing to actually raise their hand and give me a 1 to 2 word answer on what comes to mind when you thought about your company? Okay.
Technology and innovation.
Technology and innovation. Great. Thank you. Anyone else?
Here. This side?
Okay.
Medical experts.
Medical experts. Yes.
Integrity and value.
Integrity, value. Wonderful. Anyone else? Yes.
Stability, confidence.
Stability and confidence. Excellent. Credibility. You see, when you're thinking about your company, there's something that's branded in your brain about what it means to represent and what your company represents. Your brand is the crossroad of what you do and what you say and how people feel. Your brand is actually a feeling. When we're talking about credibility, that's the branded mentality of what your company means to you. But what would your employees say if they say, how does your brand represent and resonate with them? How would your customers say that your brand resonates with them? How does the market perceive your brand? You see, it's a feeling. We can't force a feeling, but we can influence it. And there's the stages of the online presence in which your brand is presented. You got to be thinking about having a consistent message and how you're positioning your brand online so you can help show the world what you do and what you say so that you can help people feel the way we want them to feel about your company. You got to be thinking holistically. You got to be thinking about the digital presence. And it starts with your content. Are you being consistent with your content? Are you talking about your values? Are you talking about who you stand for and what kind of brand you want to represent? What about your website? Is that a brand reflection? Is that something you're proud of? Your 24-hour salesperson, your #1 marketing asset, is that a representation of your company? How about your search presence? Are you showing up for specific keywords resonating with the type of services or products that you offer? Your online reputation. How are your reviews? How are people talking about you? As well as your public relations. Are you in the news? Are you winning awards? Are you in the public? Your social media presence. Are you engaging with people online? Are you part of the community? All different aspects in which your brand is presented to be able to create this total online presence to help you position your brand in the right way. So there's so many different topics, obviously, that we could talk about. Today, we get the privilege to talk about social media. And specifically, we're going to be talking about LinkedIn. So let's jump in. LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network. There's over 630 million registered users. And over 200 million of them are active every month. The average duration of a user on LinkedIn is over 10 minutes. And ultimately, then there's 20 million company pages. And so quick show of hands. How many of you are on LinkedIn? How many of you are, keep your hands up if you are on LinkedIn at least once per month? Keep your hands up once per week. And finally, once per day. Excellent. Okay, great. So we do have some active contributors, active marketers on LinkedIn who recognize this professional network and what it can do. So my hope is for all of you to understand the total value of what this tool can do for you for recruiting talent and for business development. So why is LinkedIn important? Why should you care? The first is that it's the world's largest professional network. Keyword professional. When users use this network, they have the mentality that they're there to conduct themselves in a professional manner. This is not Facebook, this is not LinkedIn, we're not taking selfies, we're not taking pictures of our dinner that we ate last night. We're talking about what's happening in our industry, what's happening in our company, what's going on with my career. People are engaging themselves in a professional environment. You have to think in terms of how you communicate with people in that way. It's also one of the most underutilized platforms from a marketing and advertising standpoint. You see, marketers, we like to communicate to the masses, but LinkedIn is a very intimate one-to-one relationship. It also creates a huge opportunity if you know how to leverage LinkedIn from a communication standpoint, as well as being able to use it at scale. It also provides the largest organic reach possible. So when we say organic, when you post a status update, the number of people that follow you, that see your post, that's your organic reach. If you post on Facebook, essentially 1% of the people who you're connected with will see your content. Whereas LinkedIn is over 10%. So you have a larger organic reach of people that will actually see the content that you're promoting. And then the power of your C-level title. So we're going to be talking about the secrets here, but one thing that I want to say is that you do have an X factor by being a C-level, or being part of the C-suite. We're going to be talking about how to leverage that from a tactical standpoint here shortly. But ultimately, you can use LinkedIn to drive new business opportunities for your business, to build your brand's image online, and to recruit and convert talent. So today, we're going to be talking about 5 things. We're going to be talking about your profile, how to optimize your profile. We're going to be talking about targeting, how to use LinkedIn to target using a framework called AMO. We're going to be talking about a recruitment strategy, a business development connection strategy, and finally we're going to talk about sponsored ads. Okay, so we've got a jam-packed session. This is a deep workshop, so we're getting our feet really wet and getting our hands really dirty. So make sure you're taking notes. If you have any questions after this, I'm sure this presentation will get circulated, but I'm here to help. Let's talk about your profile. Your profile is essentially your personal presentation, your personal business card or brochure to the world on who you are, what you do, and why someone should care. So you need to be thinking about optimizing your profile as a landing page, as bringing in people that you're trying to communicate that clearly, presents your personal brand well. We got some tips for you on how to actually optimize your LinkedIn profile, and it starts with a professional photo. You need to make sure that you've invested in a headshot, something that best represents you, that's current, it's professional, you're smiling, you're looking at the camera, you're making eye contact with the user. You'd be surprised on how many poor photos or people of family shots. That doesn't work in this environment. You need to make sure it's representing you, professional. Number 2 is your compelling headline. So your headline shows up underneath your title. This is one of the most underutilized pieces of LinkedIn's profile. But you have your name, you have your title, and then you have your headline. And that headline shows up in so many places. It shows up in the search results. It shows up when you post a status. It shows up when you post InMail. So use that headline as a chance to give a quick snapshot on who you are, what you do, and why someone should care. Your public profile URL, so you can actually set a specific URL. So when you're networking with someone, you can tell them, hey, I'm Johnny Hughes DZ, right? That would be my public URL that you can give someone. Your contact information, make it easy if you're trying to network. You want to make sure that that's easily accessible, as well as having your story in your summary. So tell your story. This is your chance to actually put yourself out there and tell people who you are. Update your current and past positions, add rich media. So embed video, embed PDFs, embed slide decks, things that can help give more context to your past and your positions. Develop key recommendations, proactively develop on your network, so start building quality connections, and then gather intelligence. Study the analytics. Study the data that you're able to get from LinkedIn so you continue to make these tweaks. But again, kind of the first step here is to make sure that our profile is set up. So none of our marketing tactics will work until our profile is set up and ready. So that's the first place we want to start. Who's seen one of these? Who's seen one of these from someone that's in this room? They exist, right? Most people have a LinkedIn account, but some of you or some people have not actually taken the time to structure it and to position it and to fill it out. But I can tell you right now, if you're using LinkedIn and this is you, no one is going to want to professionally connect with you other than robots. So you have to make sure that your presence is felt. But this is an example of not a good LinkedIn profile. And this is an example of a good one, right? So we said we have a professional photo. She's making eye contact with us. She's leveraging her compelling headline saying that she's helping clients build efficient media management solutions. She's well connected, she's got a summary, she's obviously invested the time to actually position her own profile, and it's something that, and a reason why you should care. You also have to understand that your companies have profiles. So your company profile is something, when we're recruiting talent, and our existing employees, we want to have them connected here. So this is like our own little microsite, our own little website that we get to have on LinkedIn. Good morning. So you can use creative, you can use elements, you can tie in the jobs and posts that you have available. Who works here? Make sure that everybody's connecting. If your employees are saying they work at Designzilla's, make sure that they're connected here so everything continues to create that network effect. And then understand there's profile analytics, right? So our business profiles have analytics. It can show us the best times that we're posting, what content's resonating well, what kind of page views and who's actually visited my profile. All of that information is available. You gotta use it, you gotta look at it, you gotta study it. And you have to start thinking about, with your profile, what kind of content are you going to be engaging with? What kind of content is going to help resonate and support your marketing? You gotta stay regular with it. You can't just go on a frenzy where one week you're posting every day and next month you didn't post at all. So find a cadence that works for you. Find an opportunity where you're posting some original content, you're engaging with other people in your network's content, you're sharing some of your company's content, all ways that you're continuing to be seen and felt in that total network. And then also, LinkedIn also has their own articles, right, which is kind of like their blog format, and they really promote those well. So they actually will help really make sure that the ranking factor of your LinkedIn posts are getting seen. So leverage those if you're blogging, being able to integrate that with your LinkedIn articles. Okay, so we just talked about profile optimization. So we now have gone through the steps to make sure that our personal profiles and our company profiles are well set up for success. So now we're going to talk about targeting with ammo. How many of you run a B2B business? Great. How many of you B2C? Okay. So B2B with B2B targeting on LinkedIn is the #1 most utilized aspect of what makes this network so special. You can target so many different aspects of a profile and of an individual from a professional setting that makes it so unique. You cannot do this type of targeting in any other platform. You have to understand, when it comes to B2B marketing, LinkedIn gives you the ability to target specific roles, specific industries, specific professionals, have a level of seniority that you can't get anywhere else. In fact, only less than 1% of people on Facebook put what their job title actually is. Whereas on LinkedIn, you have to. It's part of the process. So think about that from a targeting standpoint. So let's talk about ammo. So when we're getting into the marketing, we want to say there's 3 things that we want to consider, and that's ammo. Our audience, our message, and our offer. We have to get those 3 things straight in order for us to be effective marketers. And so we're going to talk about that framework a little bit more. So let's talk about A, audience. We need to truly understand who we're communicating to. Are we communicating to candidates? Are we communicating to prospects? Who is our ideal customer base and our ideal personas that our audience is based around? We need to take the time to understand what are their goals, what are their motivations, what are they frustrated by, and actually document this out and start thinking about how our brand can help them. If a candidate is looking for flexibility, they're looking for remote work, they're looking for different attributes about an employment place, think about how you want to communicate to those needs, right? So you have to adapt your communication to your audience, but you have to first understand who we're talking to. LinkedIn targeting allows us to be very specific about thinking about our audience on how we can actually take that into a targeted profile. So as I stated, in LinkedIn, you can target by company name, industry, size, job title, job seniority, gender, groups, skills, degrees, locations, so many different aspects that we can actually take, okay, we understand this about our buyer persona, but this is how we're actually going to find them on LinkedIn, right? So we're marrying the 2 together so we understand how exactly we're going to locate our audience. So that's step 1. Number 2 is our message. How are we actually communicating to that audience? We know what their goals are, their motivations, what they're frustrated by. How are we adapting our communication and our message to fit those needs? So I recommend a book by Donald Miller called Building a Story Brand. The concept of the story brand is that we're all telling a story with our company. And we need to think about the narrative because storytelling has stood the test of time. We've been telling stories since Stone Age, right? That's how messages have been communicated. It's easy to resonate, it sticks in our brains. We need to be thinking about our brand story and how we're using that mentality with communicating our message. And this book basically states that every story has a character who has a problem and meets a guide who gives them a plan, and that plan calls them to action. By taking that action, they avoid failure and ultimately have some sort of positive outcome in return. But you have to think about, we are not the hero of the story. We are the guide, right? We're the Obi-Wan Kenobis. We're not the Luke Skywalkers. Our customers are. We need to think about how we're helping guide our customers through that experience to solve those problems. We're doing it in story form. So think about your message and your communication back to your audience to help resonate who it is and what you do and how you can help them. And finally, our offer. Okay, you've got my attention. You've communicated to me. I've now understood that what it is that you offer. What can you do for me? So you need to think about your call to action. What do we actually want that audience to do now that we've got your attention? So here's some key things. One is keep it short, keep it simple. Make it easy for me to understand how you can help me. Don't make this long, drawn-out process that now I have to jump through all these hoops. Don't be bossy. Don't be pushy. Give them help. You're educating and helping and advising. Convey value, make it obvious, and test and iterate your offers. Your first offer that you try in your marketing plan is not going to work. You need to adapt. You need to continue to test and see what's working and what's resonating with your audience. So the AMBO framework, again, is our audience, our message, and our offer. So we're going to use that framework, and we're going to talk about how we're going to use LinkedIn for recruiting talent and driving business opportunities. But again, back to this content strategy, we need to be thinking holistically on how this hub and spoke concept works. So the hub and spoke means the hub of our content serves a particular need. If the main topic of what we're offering is cloud computing, I think I've met somebody in here that does that, thank you. What are all the spin-off topics that fit that need, that a little bit indirectly, but can all still fit that main topic pillar, right? So thinking about all the different spin-off ways of communicating content, of all that's serving that message, that offer to your audience. The last thing I'll say about that is that you want to communicate in the right medium. We text message different than we email. We use Twitter different than we use LinkedIn. And you can't just repurpose your same content across every single one of these platforms. The audience, the messaging, all of that's different. You need to make sure you're adapting your message to that relevant profile. So let's talk about using LinkedIn search. So, everyone who has a LinkedIn profile has access to LinkedIn search. That's one of the powers of it. If you want to build a connection, you got to be able to find people to connect with. So there's two types of searches that we're going to be talking about, is the native search and Sales Navigator. So by default, you have access to native search. This is a native user. You're not upgraded in any way. You have access to this search. So basically, there's some key things that you can filter by. You can search. You can filter by connections, by current companies, by industries, and by locations. Connections, quick tip there. First degree connection is someone that I'm already connected to. A second degree connection is someone that I'm connected to, is that they're connected to. So a way in, basically. And a third degree is basically two second degree connections that don't have a direct point of interaction. But by default, you have the ability to search, right? So you can actually execute some of the tactics without upgrading, but it's going to limit you. It's going to limit you the number of searches you can do. It's going to try to push you into Sales Navigator or some sort of upgrade path. But by default, native search does provide you with some good search content. So how many of you here have Sales Navigator? Great. So Sales Navigator is a paid, upgraded, premium add-on for LinkedIn. But it creates so many different avenues on how you can actually search and filter your audience. Remember, we're trying to find our audience, our ideal prospects that we've built those personas around. So by default, Sales Navigator allows us to search way more by company headcount, seniorities, functions, titles. It gives you some different aspects of how active they are on LinkedIn. But one of the best things about Sales Navigator is it actually creates a custom feed. So I start creating different feeds for the types of people that I'm trying to engage with. So if I'm creating B2B leads for manufacturing groups, I have a specific group of all the people that I'm trying to build those business opportunities with. And it caters my feed in Sales Navigator. As well as some dynamic profiling, so it helps find ideal prospects based on what I've structured in my matching. And finally, and finding similar prospects. So it creates a lot of avenues for expanding your searchability, and it doesn't limit you like the traditional native link does, or LinkedIn search does. Okay, so now that we've talked about our profiles, ammo, and understanding search, we're actually going to get into some actual recruiting tactics. Okay? So how we can actually leverage LinkedIn, knowing those three things, and how we can leverage that now for actually recruiting talent. So 90% of candidates say that they're open to new opportunities that are on LinkedIn. You have a 1.8 times higher likelihood of a candidate to apply for your job if they know of your company. So essentially you have a 200% higher likelihood if they know of your brand that they're willing to actually apply for a job. So again, making sure that you are actively nurturing and building your own your brand online And 73% of companies see a career lift when they're using traffic driver ads, right? So the key here is that with over 20 million different job listings, this is the top platform for career moves, right? We said this is the professional network. This is where people are. This is where they're moving and shaking and building those interactions and building those connections specifically so they can advance their career. And good, we want to be there when they do. So let's talk about a few different things that LinkedIn offers. And the first is actually using LinkedIn to post a job, okay? So we're actually going to post a job on LinkedIn that we have available. As I said, there's 20 million different job posts. You have to differentiate. We have to infuse your brand story and a personality here in the way that we're promoting our job post. And that we want to leverage this candidate pipeline options, right? So some of the tools that LinkedIn offers. So we're actually going to walk through seeing how LinkedIn's job post works. So this is a job when we're hiring for an inbound marketer in Orlando, Florida. It's full-time, mid to senior level. These are the functions that we're looking for. And this is our description, right? How we can help differentiate and tell our story. Some of the keywords that we want to show up. And then some of the screening questions. If there's any additional screening questions that you want to ask any candidates. You can set a budget. And then ultimately from there, you can actually see what that would look like. So this job is actually closed, so it's not available. But you can see essentially what a prospect would see, prospective employee. And one of the other aspects that makes this tool really great is by being able to give a visibility on your pipeline. So the people who have actually applied for this job, you can actually see right here. I can save them, I can message them, I could share to some of my employees, some of HR. So these tools available on LinkedIn. You can actually post jobs that you have available right there on LinkedIn. Quick tip, the budget that they're going to recommend is typically higher than what you really need to spend. So try to really set a daily budget for yourself just to see what what kind of prospects that you're able to bring in using that tool. So like I said, that's one thing a lot of people don't realize, that you can actually post your job right there on LinkedIn. The second is targeting passive prospects, right? So 90% of people are open to new opportunities. A lot of them are passive. They're not actively seeking jobs, but if something came along that got my attention, I might entertain that. So what we use are using traffic driver ads to really get our brand's exposure to those types of candidates. So we're going to capture their attention. We're going to indirectly sell our culture of who we are, and then give them a chance to connect on their terms. So we're actually going to show you guys how we use the ad format to actually attract and position our brand to passive candidates. Okay, so this is an engagement ad campaign. So the objective here is for them to engage with our content, right? So the audience that we're going to be talking about are people that are in Orlando and that have job titles of search engine marketing manager, digital marketing specialist, internet marketer. We want our ad to show up as a single image ad. We're going to set a budget, how long we want our timeline to run, and ultimately what that is going to look like. Then you can actually specify what content you want them to see. So this is us promoting that same inbound marketer job where this is what they would see. So this is not someone who is looking for my job and actually applying online. They would see this in their feed because they've met the job title of what I'm looking for in my geographical area. And again, I've targeted my audience. So I'm actually helping them see something, and they're passive. They're not actively applying for jobs, but oh, guess what? Are you a digital savage? Right? That's communicating our brand and our personality. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe inbound marketing? So these are ways that we can help get their attention and expose our brand. And even if they don't apply yet, we've got their attention. And you have a 200% higher likelihood of them applying for a job if they know of your company. So think about infusing these types of ads with engaging with passive candidates. And finally, I'm going to talk about headhunting. So essentially us going out and prospecting a specific individual that we want to recruit to our company. Key here is being professional and courteous, okay? Make it about them and position yourself as a quality leader. People don't leave jobs, they leave leaders. So position yourself as someone that they want to follow. Think about that when you're using this tactic. So let me show you guys a method that we use here. So if we're looking for a web developer, You can see there's 3 million to start, but let's narrow down our geography to Orlando. And this is using Sales Navigator, by the way. So I'm going to say, all right, Orlando, Florida, first, second degree connections. Because we run a digital marketing agency, I want someone that understands this industry. It's a little bit different. We're going to then jump into seniority level. So I want a senior. I want someone that knows what they're doing and that have the title of web developer, front-end developer, and then we'll suggest different job titles that you can piggyback on. And so now I've actually narrowed down that to 7 results, right? So I've narrowed my audience down to 7 results using Sales Navigator. Now I can actually start looking to see, okay, first one thing the Sales Navigator does, that I can save this search here. So I can call this, say, local web developers. So next time I want to come back, it's already set. So now I'm going to start scanning to see, okay, is there someone that I want to directly connect with here? So I'm going to go to this person's profile. I'm going to see my best path in, right? The best way of actually connecting. Anyone that I have a shared connection with. We both went to UCF. We both have a shared connection here. And she posted this on her portfolio of a website she built, which was for Westgate Resorts, okay? So now I'm saying, okay, I want to actually connect with Stephanie. I want to headhunt her. So I'm actually going to send a connection request. And I have a template here, a message template that I'm going to use. It says, hi, Stephanie. I came across your website profile and was really impressed with your work, especially on the Westgate Resorts website. Wow. I'm always looking to build connections with great web developers in Orlando, so thought I'd reach out, say hello, and connect here. I am not selling her. I am not talking about the job that we have for her. I'm simply admiring her work. So who can guess what would happen to Stephanie once she received that connection request? Yeah, she'd probably accept. Yeah, and ultimately she wants to know more, right? I just made her feel good. I recognized her work. I've demonstrated that I care about that level of quality. And that might be the type of leadership that she's looking for. And so she's going to look into me. She's going to go where? My profile. She's going to go where? My company profile. And if we're being consistent about our messaging and how we positioned our brand, Stephanie's going to want to apply for a job, or at least reach out about open positions. So again, using LinkedIn in 3 different methods is being able to leverage this tool. You can post jobs directly and have people apply. We can prospect passive people through our ads, having our brand be exposed, or we can go out and directly find a specific individual we want and connect with them. But there's a whole tactic and technique specifically with the connection request strategy here. But I just demonstrated what it can possibly do from a recruitment point. The other thing when it comes to recruiting on LinkedIn, there's something called Work With Us ads. So Work With Us ads basically shows their picture. That's them. This is Jennifer next to my company logo. So she would see that on the sidebar, essentially promoting a job that we have. So we are all drawn to photos of ourselves. That's just in our DNA. So she's going to look right at her picture next to my logo, and psychologically, she's starting to put those 2 together. Right? So this has a really high click-through rate. Specifically with the Work With Us ads. One of the other things that is unique about this is you can block out the ability for competitors to do this to your employees. Yeah, so it's a key factor as far as how to implement the Work With Us ad, but again, different ways of using LinkedIn to recruit talent and how to position your brand online to do so. And finally, there's a tool, LinkedIn Recruiter. It's very similar to Sales Navigator, but it's specifically when you're looking to promote a lot of jobs. If you're hiring 100 different people per year, this is the type of tool that you're going to be looking for. You can have multiple users, multiple seats. You can promote different jobs directly to them. And then basically the filters are about people who have expressed that they're interested in new opportunities. So those are some of the tools that you can use as far as LinkedIn and how you can leverage LinkedIn to recruit talent. So let's talk about business development. How we can actually use LinkedIn to drive business to our bottom line. It all starts with connections. So if we went back to that scene with Stephanie, when I found her, I didn't send her an email. I didn't message her directly. I sent her a connection request. So that's the key here. Connections are critical. And the power of them is A, it helps you rank higher on LinkedIn. through their algorithm, it looks for the quality connections that you have, so it actually positions your profile higher than others. It creates better visibility in search results. So when your people are searching for, a CEO, a digital agency, essentially you're likely higher to be ranked up in those search results. But the best part about this is it creates the network effect. The network effect is essentially when I post the status update and Keith likes it, everybody that Keith is connected to is now going to see that in their feed, right? And anybody in their feed that engages with it, they're going to see it in that feed. So the virality of an organic post on LinkedIn is so much stronger than any other platform. So having quality connections that are actually engaging creates this ability to really get your content seen and exposed. And also, it just helps your overall brand personality, right? Having better quality connections helps position you as a leader, as a thought leader. So this formula that we're going to be talking about in business development starts with the connection request. So the flow is connection request, an intro message, and an action response. Okay. Are there any salespeople in the room? Awesome. Okay. So essentially, we're not going to be teaching sales, but this is something that ultimately everybody can appreciate. This formula, using ammo, when we're looking at this from a return on investment standpoint, generates about 1 to 2 qualified leads per week. Essentially, if you can go through this process of creating 100 connection requests per week, this is essentially the average acceptance rate and the conversion rates that we see following this plan. So 100 per week, you get about 10 to 20% of those people who accept your connection request. You get 30 to 40% who actually open your first message, and ultimately that leads to about a 1% conversion rate for those 100 quality connection requests. So this takes about 20 minutes per day. If you do it right, with the right templates and the right ways of scaling this, best days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, about 10 to 11 a.m. So let's talk about how we can actually leverage that. So we're using Sales Navigator. I showed you how to use it and how to target our audience. So we're going to actually filter that group. We're going to save all of those prospects that meet that criteria into a list. Okay? We're going to batch time, right? So we're going to wait to do all of our connection requests in a batch session, and we're going to establish our connection communication templates. So the goal here is that we need to find the personas that we're after, right? If we're looking for VPs of marketing for manufacturing firms, we can think about different geographical locations. We can figure out how we want to actually specifically locate them and use Sales Navigator to come up with our list, and we're going to save that list. So essentially we have 100 to 200 prospects, and these are our cold leads. We haven't talked to them, they don't know who we are, but we're essentially building our list that we're going to be using. Pro tip, always connect from a profile page, not from a search page. So that results page that I just showed you, you technically can sit there and go connect, right? So there's a few reasons why you shouldn't do that. One is that you're going to get flagged by LinkedIn's spam policy. And two, your profile will actually show up on this person's who's viewed my profile page, which is actually the #1 visited page on LinkedIn. People are obsessed with who's actually coming to see me, right? So use that to your advantage. Before I reach out to this individual, make sure that I've shown that I've gone to their profile and looked them up. So that's a tip there. Another tip here is always personalize your connection request. Don't sit there and use the default. Hey, I'd like you to join my professional network. That doesn't, you're not going to have the acceptance rates on your connection request if you just follow the default. So take time to actually write a compelling template that's going to work for you. Keep it friendly, keep it professional. Right? Think about this as we're meeting now and we're exchanging business cards. That's what a connection really is. Saying, hey, I want to get to know you a little bit more. You want to get to know me a little bit more. Let's stay connected. So think about that mentality. You don't want to sell on a connection request. You're essentially saying that, hey, there's a reason why I think we should connect. Let's do it. All right, so we've now gone through the connection request, and we've got someone that's accepted that. So now we're going to use the intro message strategy. Intro message strategy, there's a few tips here. One is remind them about the connection. A lot of people wait to actually accept their connections in bulk. So remind them that you just connected. Make it about them. Offer to answer questions, provide social proof, and close on a positive note. So here's an example of an intro message that I sent. Hey Ryan, thanks for accepting my connection and long time no see since the old UCF days. I saw you're the VP of Marketing at, this is supposed to be blanked out, team now. How awesome. Would you be interested in having my team do an audit on your reservation flow of your website? We've worked with the exact same point of sale system for a similar resort, and we're able to generate a 5x return on their online sales. Either way, I'm here to help if you'd like to discuss any questions or want any advice on some best practices. Hope you and the fam are doing great. Looking forward to catching up. Okay, so I reminded him about our connection. I made it all about him. I offered to answer questions. I provided social proof that we've been able to help generate a positive result for people using a very similar system that they're using. And I closed on a positive note. I kept it casual. I kept it about them, and that I know who he is, referenced his fam, used a little emoji. But, so essentially you have to understand that InMail, now that I have a connection with you, I can InMail you. InMail is LinkedIn's messaging service, their own little private networking or private email system. So InMail is what we're going to leverage here in this process. So this is the intro message. So essentially, when I send that intro message, we're listening for three things. And this is our action response plan. We're listening for three types of responses this person can give me. One is bare minimum. Thanks, Johnny. We're already working with an agency. Great to hear from you. Okay. I already have a reply ready to go, an email or a message template ready to go that already thanks them for his time. Oh, here's a blog article, by the way, if you're interested in for additional reading, and we move on, right? Sales is about continuing to spend your time where it matters. The second is a minimum but a thank you, right? So he's saying, hey, no, sorry, we're good, but thanks, I really appreciate it. It's great to hear from you. We should grab lunch, right? So a very similar type of response with, here's a blog article. I'm continuing to position my brand as an authority, but I'm also opening the door to a call. But really what we're after with all of this prospecting is waiting for someone to respond with a pain point. Providing them immediate feedback with an offer on how your product or service can help resolve these issues. This is where your time is spent in business development. When we actually have a pain point that our business can solve, that's the time that we want to invest, right? So the others, you already have message templates ready to spit out, but this is the one that you want to personalize. Okay, so you can see here, this is the response that we got back. Thanks for reaching out, Johnny. Appreciate you willing to help out and take a look over our website's reservation flow. Believe it or not, your name came up a couple weeks back when we were meeting to discuss some professional help in this regard. So timing's great. Our website gives us a link to that. And we have seen a decline over spring break and could use some help. Would you like to schedule a call to talk more? I hope you're well, cheers. Okay. So this is now, I've heard a pain point that they're open to this, but they're suffering from an issue from spring break, which is a peak season for a resort. So now I can actually use my offer specifically on how I can position my company to provide them a strategic audit and help advise them, because I've used the AMO formula, right? I've specifically found people that fit that audience profile. I've communicated with them about my value proposition following this connection to message method, and now I'm able to provide my offer on how we can help them, right? So as I stated, this is generally a 1% conversion rate from connection request to generating a qualified lead, but it works. Hey, Michael Scott. So, this is a very organic, think about boots on the ground, outbound, prospecting type business development, right? It works. It exists on LinkedIn. It's hard to scale. So I want to actually talk about sponsored ads and how you can help scale those efforts through LinkedIn. How are we doing on time, by the way? Oh, wow. Cool. All right, so these are the types of campaigns that you can run on LinkedIn. First is promoting your content. So if I want more people to see the content that I'm posting, I can use ads to help almost boost them. I can drive targeted website traffic. So if I'm trying to get people to come to my website or to my landing page, I can specifically run ads to do that. I can directly message them, which I don't agree with. Like I said, you connect before you message. Don't just directly message someone. And then you can also run ads to drive profile engagement if you want more people to engage with your profile. So we use that same mentality with the audience message offer, the AMO. to really scale our efforts through vertical marketing ads. So once we've resonated with the type of buyer that we're looking for, we can scale that based on different industries or different geographical locations. So this is an example of running our ads to manufacturing firms, car rental firms, and SaaS firms. And essentially how our message could be promoting what our value proposition is specifically for them. If you can run an ad and you're the VP of sales, and that ad says, this is the VP of Sales Survival Guide in 2020, you personalize that ad specifically for that person's role, right? And so the likelihood of them engaging, because you've taken the time to get your targeting right, is what makes LinkedIn so powerful. So think about how you can now scale that same method using ads. The other thing is that you have to think big picture. We're literally just scratching the surface of LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is a great place to connect and build the awareness, but you have to think about your brand holistically online. You have to think about your website, your content strategy, how often you're blogging, how often you're in the, in the community, that you're engaging online, and how well is your site actually converting. So many people think that they can cast a wide net, and that just because they spend a lot of money driving a lot of traffic, that they're going to convert. We need to think about making sure that our offer is resonating and that our conversion rates are as optimized as it can be. But you got to think about your marketing strategy holistic, broader. And then this is just a part of it. This is just part of the ecosystem. But use content to really align with your strategy. Think about how you're positioning your brand online, as we stated earlier today. So we're going to recap. The first, we're going to optimize our profile with best practices. 2, we're going to upgrade to LinkedIn Premium, hopefully with Sales Navigator. Again, that gives us more flexibility with searching and finding our audiences. 3, we're actually going to take the time to outline our ammo plan. We're actually going to create our audience, our message, our offer, and make sure that we've documented them. So that can help us create a criteria for targeting. So if we're looking to target our audience, how are we going to reach them? How are we actually going to find them? And then we're going to write our message strategy, right? So the content that we're going to draft is that template. We're going to already pre-draft that, ready to go. But we have to test and iterate these messages, right? What resonates with one individual in one role might not resonate for everybody. So you have to think about adapting and iterating. And do your homework. Don't just put this thing on autopilot. Actually resonate and tie back into specifics about who they are. So that way you can actually maximize your ability to close and convert. Test and implement them. And again, establish a holistic content marketing strategy. Think about this as just one aspect. How you're using LinkedIn as one aspect of your content strategy. And finally, post organic content, right? And build up your brand authority by engaging with your audience on LinkedIn. Be active. Don't just be someone that's passively on the sidelines. You're in the game. Be in the game, post the content, engage with others. I know it's uncomfortable, but trust me, this is what's necessary if you're looking to grow and scale and take advantage of modern day digital practices. So now, go out there and compete. We started this meeting with a stampede. Y'all remember that? It was a while ago. But you committed. You committed to actually taking a leap of faith, taking a step forward, leading your charge, leading your organization. And we understand that this is hard, but it's necessary. And if you need a partner, you need advice, you need to discuss, please. There are people, there are professionals like me and other agencies that know how to do this, so that way you can continue to run your business and leverage a quality partnership to help you get to that next level. Return on investment is key. You need to be thinking about how we're needing, where we're trying to go and how we're going to get there. If we're looking to attract a quality pool of candidates, you need to be thinking about what kind of content we need to be putting out, what kind of attraction tools, what kind of recruitment messaging and tactics need to be put in place. We're trying to drive business, and we're trying to attract new leads and opportunities and close more customers. I mean, we can't just rely on the old tactics. Yeah, we're in a referral group. Yeah, that's great. Yesterday's home runs won't win today's games. You need to think about scale. You need to think about predictability. You need to think about consistency. Finding a model that you can put this through and have a predictable funnel. So find an avenue, invest in the time needed to really educate yourself on this, or find a partner who does. Thank you. We do have some time for questions? No?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So does anyone have any questions for me? Yes?
Hi, I was just gonna make a comment that earlier this year, LinkedIn also added hashtags.
Yes.
So that you can attach 3 hashtags to your company page, and then, you will show up automatically in those feeds. So if you wanna be associated with hashtag innovation, then you'll always be in the innovation feed, and then that way people that are following that hashtag are gonna automatically home in on specific things that you wanna be categorized with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They just implemented that, I think, earlier this year,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
wanted to bring that up.
No, that's a great point. So she's talking about hashtags, and so now hashtags are able to be implemented for your company in the types of posts. And now people are able to actually follow hashtag feeds. So if I'm really interested in, emerging marketing or different terms, and I want to see all the different content that people are promoting, then I'm going to follow that feed and that hashtag. So think about how your brand, when we started this exercise, we said, what do you want to be known for? How do you want to be branded? Think about those keywords and those hashtags that you want to be showing up with. That's a great organic method. Thank you for sharing that. Who else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Carrion. I work for Cushman & Wakefield, and we are a global company in which we have our internal recruiting department that focuses on looking for our candidates whenever we have a job position. But one of my responsibilities is to recruit for our Orlando and Jacksonville offices. And, we have a lot of trouble finding good talent. And, our recruiting department is very busy working for the whole East region. So the other day, I went in to try to use the whole recruiting section of LinkedIn. But since the company recruits through LinkedIn, we had like a firewall. What would be suggestions that I could use on my own LinkedIn page to find talent in the area of people that are following me specifically?
Great question. Yeah, so I would suggest doing that connection move. So if she's saying that the company is the one that posts the job, right? So when we want to have our job post, that's coming from the company. It's not coming from her directly. But what you can do is build those quality connections with the candidates that you're looking to. So following that move with Stephanie, so you can use Sales Navigator and say, all right, what kind of roles are you hiring for?
So right now we're hiring for multiple roles, financial analysts, marketing specialists, administrators, so all of the support staff, as well as we also, my manager, here today, she recruits for brokerage or sales company. So like what are tools that, I was also thinking, what about like posting, something, oh, we are looking on my page, is that something?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let me know. Honestly, if you started that process by saying, hey, we're recruiting for financial analysts, and have a creative image, and also using the comments as a chance for people to recommend others. So that's a common organic method. So people will say, oh, Susie J, or whatever, like comment them, and then you can use that as an organic way. But now that you've put that on your content, then I would say go out and find people, and this is where using Sales Navigator is key. So we're saying, hey, if we're hiring in Orlando or wherever you are, you're going to filter by that location, that geography, by the roles, people who have that title, that job title of financial analyst. And if you're looking for a seniority level of like mid, to senior, to junior, whatever that is, put those filters in, right? And it's going to narrow down. Here's all the financial analysts that are in this location that have a senior, experience with X amount of years of experience, right? So now I've narrowed my pool. Your content that you've already promoted organically is there, so that way when you do build a connection request, they're already going to see, oh wow, she is hiring for this role. But that's where I would use my connection request and say, and think about this, right? When you connect with a financial analyst, you're not going to be selling, hey, by the way, we're hiring. We have to make it about them. And you might even say, hey, we're a growing company. We're admiring all the financial analyst leaders in Central Florida. Would love to get your feedback as far as advice that you might give when it comes to the type of company that you'd want to be a part of, right? Make it about them and not selling yourself. It's the indirect way of helping to educate, advise, and nurture to ultimately allow people to come to that conclusion themselves. So by them accepting that connection request, then you can message them directly and now say, hey, by the way, we do have this job post. and you can actually get them to engage with that, all without having company access. That would be you directly maintaining that pipeline.
I had another question.
Okay.
So what are your views on like sharing other people's posts? Because one of my goals for the year, or my goal, has been to be more connected on social media. That's just not something that I've always been comfortable with, and I know that we have a lot of like in our offices that share certain posts, and I see it. I'm a little like hesitant to like share or post. Like, is that something that, or is it better to just post a new, something new on your own? Like,
Mix it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, mix it up.
Okay.
Yeah, engage. If you want people to engage with you, you have to show that you're willing to engage with others. And I think it's a great way of people, and when you share that or you comment on that, and I see that that you engaged with this, make sure that content is something that you want associated with your personal brand, right? So you're able to curate that content and that topic without actually creating it yourself. So you have original content, but you're also talking about engaging with others that have values and things that you want to attribute to your personal brand.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Have you had universal positive response with the Sales Navigator? Because we did a one-year test and it didn't work out very well for us at all. We worked at it, we tried to do a lot of different simulations and iterations, and it was just a flop. And so has it been something that's been a home run hitter for you all the time, or did it take a while for you to figure out how to work, or make it work?
It took a while, yeah, and it takes testing and iteration and sticking with it. If you can really make sure that you have a framework, a content, or back to the ammo, who are we talking to, and really get to the depth of what they need to hear and how your company differentiates to help them solve that problem, and then what offer you can deliver that's not asking them to schedule a consultation, right? So you have to really think about using this more top of funnel of getting awareness out there. But yeah, it takes time, and I think you continue to get smarter as you start building your lists. And it's one of those things, you're planting seeds. So you're not gonna instantly start reaping the harvest. Someone that I can do a connection request today, and 3 months from now is when they accept. So you don't know when that's gonna happen. So you gotta be thinking long run, but be ready and already have your processes and your routines in place. So that way, sales is repetitive. It's about accepting objections and knowing how to continue to pursue even when things aren't working. But every industry is a little different. Every company is a little different. What do you do? Like, what kind of company? Finance. Okay. So are you looking to attract what would be the ideal customer profile?
A small business, a small medium-sized business.
Okay.
That needs financing to grow.
And what type of role is typically the one when you can get a hold of that is the decision maker in that process?
Owner or CFO.
Okay, yeah. So using Sales Navigator, you can target CXOs, partners, owners in the industry that, the financial industries, geographically. You can also use that to say, hey, I'm going to be in the area, or I'm hosting a breakfast or a luncheon, and invite them to be on a panel. There's so many different ways that you can use that. But by getting the eyeballs and being able to find exactly who we're trying to, the tactics are endless. But you got to just try things and see what works for your business. And sometimes it's a combination of digital versus in person to really get the most return. Thank you. Yeah. Is there something? Ryan?
I did not, but you got me thinking a lot about the profile page as a landing page. I was wondering if maybe you could speak to that a little bit more, especially the part about your personal story and connecting all that, because I feel like there's a misconception between your personal story and saying how great you are versus how do I help.
Yeah, again, it comes down to what your role is in the ecosystem. If someone, when they're going to get hired by your company, they engage with you, they're going to look you up, right? Or if I'm in charge of business development and I know in the sales journey at some point they're going to connect with Ryan, you need to be thinking about how that story resonates to your audience. But also, it's a chance. Are you an owner, or do you run or operate your own company?
I'm an associate with Sandler, so
Okay.
when you're in sales, you are your own small business within a business.
Yes. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
I guess I'm wondering the connection between your own personal brand, you know, Johnny Hughes is obviously your own personal brand, but you have an interest in developing design zones as well. You have a mutual interest in both of those things.
Right.
So harmonizing those.
Yes. Yeah, obviously, that's kind of back to that C-level, title and how that story, is a little unique. So I really want to make sure that people understand me as a leader, right? Especially for my team, my staff, but also my clients. They want to know that this organization is being led well. So I want to make sure my story resonates to my passion as a leader. That's me personally, right? So everybody has a specific aspect of their story of what's unique and how that kind of fits inside this whole system. And I can't tell you how to write a story, but I can say that it matters. And like we were saying, storytelling is the way of communicating throughout time. And how we've been able to keep things that resonate and remember. And like that's something that it's so powerful when you actually take time to think about this as positioning yourself as a guide, as someone that's here to help, that can create a plan, that can help someone else. So typically your story is about not just about you, but how you can help others and give back. So thanks. Yes.
So from a student perspective, So from a student perspective, I know a lot of the younger generation, we're mainly on social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And from my personal experience, I know of LinkedIn, but that's because as a student leader and as someone who likes to exceed and grow in career opportunities, I know about LinkedIn, but there are some that might not have the tools to access that resource. As a company, especially in marketing, how would you, or what advice would you give so that companies can use other platforms to encourage those to make a LinkedIn profile and to go specifically towards your page? So how would that benefit the younger generations?
Let me make sure I'm hearing you right. So we're saying as a student who doesn't have a LinkedIn profile.
Also, how do you use other platforms? So what advice would you give companies? What advice would you give companies, and what would you do to help recruit younger people to LinkedIn to go to your profile? Would you use other platforms, or how would you go about that?
I mean, we can use every social channel, right? When you get out of school, you will set up a LinkedIn profile. You should. Especially if you're trying to, demonstrate, and that's, and I think Nicole's even going to talk about Gen Z, which is really exciting, as far as how they're leveraging and how aggressive they are as far as building these connections, right? And, millennials kind of get tagged as, I don't want to use the lazy word, but, that they have had, they haven't really had to work for things as often. And again, I employ 90% of my employees are millennials. But, I think that you're finding that this new generation are more aggressive and that they are looking to really contribute and give back. And if they know that this CEO or this decision maker is on this platform, you're going to find a way to get on that platform. Now, as a company, I want to make sure that my business and my brand is able to get in front of you in other avenues that I know that you're going to be. So if that means we need to be thinking about Instagram stories in a unique way, if we need to be thinking about our Facebook or Snapchat or other different kind of modern digital marketing or social media platforms. Two, if we're hiring for new students or new interns, we want to make sure that we are there in that medium where they are. But as far as getting onto LinkedIn, I mean, I would just advise you, and that's essentially the professional network, right? And you're showing that you're willing to be on that network, and I'm green, but I'm willing to work, and I'm willing to connect, and I want to learn from you. You'd be surprised when you tell someone, hey, I really want to learn from you, I respect what you're doing. Can you give me some advice? You'd be surprised, you'd be shocked about how many people are going to invest their time back to someone in your generation because we want to see your generation succeed. I think he's up.
So when you mentioned some of your sales navigator stuff, I find myself pretty proficient at it, but still learn a whole bunch of stuff on here. I think a lot of people don't realize that LinkedIn's always evolving. Can you speak to a little bit how it's changing on a constant basis?
Yeah, so the algorithm is constantly evolving, just like Google or anything, right? They get smarter. They want to make sure that they're connecting people that should be connecting the best way possible. So what's key is that by you promoting content about positioning yourself as an industry leader, a thought leader in a subject matter, you're going to start really seeing that become a big trend, right? Because much like Google, they want to position #1 spot as who's the most helpful. If you think about it, we are Google's customers. So when I search for a digital agency and my business comes up, they want to make sure that they are helping their customer find the best person or business possible. And so LinkedIn will continue to evolve that to make sure their matchmaking will align the thought leader with the individuals in their search patterns. So that's one thing. Let's see. So groups continue to expand. You know, that was kind of like a hot topic at one point, kind of failed a little bit, so they're kind of on the rebound of that. The ad program has grown significantly. That's one aspect, as we stated, marketers and advertisers, the most underutilized platform. People are catching up and starting to leverage advertising, which makes the feed more cloudy, which means you have to compete to have a higher organic reach than you're used to. Facebook, you used to, 5 years ago, you post on Facebook, everybody that you were connected with, that you were friends with, saw your stuff. Now you have less than 1%. And that will continue to be, because why? The feed is fed by advertising. And so you need to make sure that you're building quality connections so your organic reach is maximized for less visibility, because that will continue to shrink. Yes, Casey.
Hi, just a question similar to the young lady about the youth. This would be with industry, and this may also bleed into Nicole's presentation. Thank you. What do you see in the blue collar operations? You know, construction, where like for sales they're used to contract bids, and for recruiting people, I'm curious what the percentage of people that they're targeting are on LinkedIn, and is that changing?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. We don't represent companies that hire for those types of jobs. So I feel that maybe there's somebody more equipped to answer that question on the recruiting front that have more exposure to it. Nicole, you want to take a stab?
Yeah, so we don't do kind of like industrial work either. We're going to talk a lot about networking opportunities and maybe figuring out, like for example, in our organization, we are part of NAWIC, which is the National Association of Women in Construction. And so that's given us the opportunity to maybe find somebody on the more professional side of the construction industry for our clients, building that network, being able to attract that type of talent into our organization. But on the labor side, that's not something we have exposure to. We do have some really great partners that we work with that I can find out what they're doing and then email you to help in any way, or if anyone's interested, I can find out some more definitive answers as to where they're finding their talent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Jim.
So you said earlier about on social media platforms, if you're posting, it should be a separate message for each one, because it's a different audience. My blog is set up to automatically push out to all the different platforms. So my question is, should it be just the caption at the top that's a different message, and it could be the same article, or does it have to be a totally different article for each platform?
I think that one blog post can resonate to different channels. The caption of how you're promoting it and what it's about should be tailored to that medium. One thing that you should know is that there's a tag in the back end of the HTML called OGraph, which is when you share a link, you know how sometimes it just automatically shows a thumbnail and it shows a description? That's called OGraph. So you can actually tell your website or your blog to show different OGraph images to different mediums. So that's one thing to consider as well. But yeah, you ultimately want to make sure that you're repurposing your blog. You wouldn't want it to automatically post all those channels. That used to work like a long time ago, but now you want to make sure that you're actually taking the time to either schedule those out in the different channels and personalize the content, the caption that's introducing that blog article in that particular channel.
One more question. How much time should somebody spend on all of this per week?
Great question. It depends on the kind of results that you're after. You know, I mean, like it's an investment of time. So it kind of comes down to if you're a sole driver of business for your company, you know, and this is the only way that you're generating leads, then you know, as I stated, this is about 20 minutes a day, following that connection to intro message to that process. So you know, that's kind of give you a rough, and that's when you actually have a well-oiled machine. That's when you have your templates ready. You're already using, but So I guess you're gonna have to navigate that yourself. You have to get used to the program. If you're not well connected, you gotta start there. So spend time on it, get familiar with it and really see what works for you. And if you can find a good cadence of how often you spend it on this channel versus this channel, then kind of adapt your schedule to be more predictable to support you. Okay, I think we have time for one more if there's any.